Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope that everybody is in a good mood today. I do hope that you are joining us to play this wonderful game that I recently have received from a good friend. Um, it is Werewolf, the Apocalypse, Heart of the Forest. I have not played it before, but I have been told it is based on the World of Darkness games. Um, so we're going to do this a little bit, see how long it takes us. I have been told it is a little bit of a short game, but I want to I want to see, I want to, check it out, enjoy it a little bit, relax today, and things like that. So, later this week, probably on Friday, we have a huge surprise going on. We are going to be doing something special, kind of like a Christmas gift of sorts for the viewers. So if you are in my Twitter or my Discord, or then please do join me on there. That way I can update you what's going on, and that way you know what's going on as well. We do talk in there. Um, it is an 18 plus stream, things like that. So please be mindful of what is going on and be mindful of others as well. I do not pick favorites. I do a roulette system in order to pick the winners. So if you know about it, please give your friends a holler, let them know. I do ask that you follow along in order to be included into the special event thing for Friday. Otherwise, you will be looked over for it and you will not be eligible for it. In that case, if you'll give me just a moment, we'll go ahead and get started on this game. So, without further ado, I consent. All right. All right, so let's make sure our options are good. Let's not kill ourselves with music. Text delay, paragraph delay, windowed mode, resolution, blah, 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 blah. So, I am kind of excited of this. So we're gonna do the best we can, pick the best outcome as much as we can. Hopefully we will die. That would be great. So hopefully we can figure it out. We'll see. I will try to read it to you. If not, I will try to go as slow as I can so that way you can follow along as well. Sound good? New game. Prologue. Premonition. So if you've already played these games before, and as I've put in my tags before, no backseating. Please do not tell me what happens. Please do not tell me how to play the game. If I do need help, I will say something to you, but because it is a choice based, I don't believe I will need the help in order to do so. If there's something you want to comment about the game that makes it kind of cool, or a fun fact outside of the gameplay, that's perfectly fine, as long as it doesn't give any of the endings away or anything like that. So, give me just a few moments. I am adjusting a few things here, and then I will start running into our gameplay. Also, on another note, I will not be doing a whole lot of gameplays very often. Instead, I will do silent videos or commentary videos of me baking. So this weekend you will see me making cinnamon roll. I'm actually going to make a 10-inch size cinnamon roll for this week. It is going to be for customers. Anytime I bake anything, I will record it so that y'all can enjoy it as well. I will play games every once in a while when I do get the mode 2 as well. So that'll be something different to add to it. I have been away for a little bit, and I do apologize for that. But hopefully we can get back on track, and we don't go too crazy, in other words. So. Alright, so let's get into it. Shall we? Shall we? This is a game about rage and how it helps us do things that need to be done, as well as things that we later regret. Sometimes both. How do you feel about that? I'm okay with anger when it's useful. Will I prefer to think before I act? Okay. So it gives me 3 plus. Your rage is balanced. So you're the critical and analytical type. That's okay. There's no right path here, just your decisions and their consequences. Let's start already. We have a story to tell. I get it. My decisions need to be fair and just. Let's just follow the path and see where it takes us. Let's just follow the path. See what happens. Forest. The woods are full of stars. They flicker, come closer, run away. They want me to chase them, to play hide and seek. Do I hunt? Do I observe? Or do I hide? I think I will observe. I watch as they dance around the tree trunks, float up on the gusts of wind that shiver through the branches, disappear among the leaves. There are words in their dance, but I don't understand them, not yet. They bunch up, and fly toward me like an arrow, rushing down, they're soon upon me. But just before the spear of light pierces my breast, they disappear, and the dark of the night returns. In the darkness, I feel the tangled roots of stories keeping the forest alive, and I hear the spirits asking me to judge the enemy. I open my eyes, and then I wake up. Cold and alone. Confused, I open my eyes. The forest around me is thick, dark, and reeks of decay to such an extent that it's hard to breathe. The smell fascinates me. I recognize this forest, or why am I here? Let's see. Do I know that I am this creature? Or do I not know that I am this creature? Let's see. Let's roll our dice. And I have my Pandy Paradise here, actually. Ironically. Convenient. Alright. So we'll roll. Is that a 12? We'll roll a d12. Let's see what that gets us. Ah, a botch. So we do not know. Why am I here? My head is spinning. Why am I here? There must be a reason. The tree trunks, wrapped tightly in dark-leaved ivy, are covered in ripples of lichen where the vines haven't taken hold. The thorny, leafless bushes at their base are overrun with nettles. The fungi radiate with a ghoulish, sickly green light. Dark, sponge-like mushrooms cling to the fallen trees. Do I try to breathe? Am I cold? Or something is rotten? I should try to breathe. Maybe calm myself down. I take a deep breath and suddenly realize that's not the forest that smells so foul. It's me. I look down and see my hands covered in a dark substance. I'm naked. A sticky, glistening film of liquid is clinging to my skin. I can feel it on my face, in my hair. Blood. What's happening? This can't be real, or I'm alert. Let's go with this can't be real. It all feels like a dream, but the twigs and stones hurting my feet seem so real. I pinch myself, but I don't wake up. I just see more clearly. Whose blood is this? Did I kill someone? There is a severed head right in front of me. Just Okay, much apologies for that. So far we've woken up in the forest. There is a severed head. We've got blood all over us. And we are not sure what's going on. Okay, so we don't want to lose our willpower, but at the same... I don't know. Do we want rage? Lose rage? Or do we want... Maybe we should touch it, see what happens. You know, to be the weird person. I'm gonna touch it. Let's touch it. Overcoming my disgust, I gently touch its wet hair and watch as the head topples over. The face is contorted, the eyes bulging, the mouth open as though the head were still struggling for air. I balk because I recognize who it is, and then eyes open in the darkness. The enemy? Or is this going to be... Who is it? We don't know who this person is. Let's see. It's going to be... So, for those of you who don't know, I am actually rolling a d12. Anything that is 5 and below is going to be unknowing, and above that is going to be I know who it is. So, let's go ahead and roll. We got a 10, so we know it's the enemy. So let's go ahead and do this. The enemy! I can see their silhouettes, shades of jet black against the darkness. They reek of metal and acid and oil and money. Massive creatures, some with mandibles, some with spidery legs. Their faceted eyes burn like small industrial furnaces. I look at them and something wakes inside my chest. Cold fury or panic? Cold fury. Now, some of these decisions I am actually rolling for. Their entire existence is wrong and an abomination to the natural order. They have been judged and found lacking. I straighten up, ready to carry out my sentence. In a moment of clarity, I almost understand what the forest wants from me. And then I wake up. Uh-oh. Arrival. So we wake up. Random, like, creepy looking creatures have found us in this forest. Apparently they are the enemy. And they smell like money. And everything else. So let's keep going. Let's see. Dreams. Maya, 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 wake up! I jerked upright, irritated. My neck was stiff, and the movement sent a sudden, sharp wave of discomfort through my body. I wasn't in the forest anymore. I was in a bus. The sun streaming through the windows was making it hard to see. The girl next to me was touching my shoulder, disturbed. Let's go with what happened, because I would be kind of confused. What happened? Anaya, sympathetic. What happened? Overcoming the urge to push her away was hard. She looked at me concerned. You were screaming. I blinked. The memory of the dream was still there. I slowly unclenched my fists. Let's see. I looked outside. So anything that's going to be 6 and above, I'm going to pick the top one. Below that is going to be the bottom. If we have a three choice, then I'll roll the dice twice and see which one we get. And then we'll do like the middle or something like that. So thank you for coming with me, I said. The girl next to me smiled. I think we're almost there. Her name was Anya. We'd met up a couple of weeks earlier on the orientation day. She was from Norway, a tall, broad-shouldered, calm person who wore her long hair in braids. Somehow, I managed to talk her into this crazy field trip across the land of my ancestors. We were there to study medicine, or she seemed excited. She seemed excited. All right. Anya is sympathetic. Anya reached into her backpack and took out 2 apples. I'm really happy we decided to come here, she said. Yeah, I said, offering her some of my cabanossi dried, meaty sausages that were so much better than the original Polish ones back in the US. I was glad Anya had decided to come with me. I had problems keeping friends around. I really needed one. I did some searching, she said from over her phone, and this place is amazing. The last primordial forest in Europe. This trip was my idea. Our summer language course was starting in a few weeks, and I'd managed to talk to Anya into skipping the tours of concentration camps and old churches and visiting the Bayatoweza National Park with me instead. I do apologize if I don't say these correctly, but moving on. So far, it's beautiful, she said, probably smiling. But why are we here again? Good question. Why were we there? There being Białowieża, a small village in the northeast Poland near the border with the Belarus. It was famous for its national park, the very last European bison, and according to a quick web search, occasional tensions between far-right troublemakers and the local Belarusian community. The most honest answer would have been, because I've been dreaming about the forest in the Belarusas since I can remember, but people didn't understand when I said things like that. I looked her in the eyes. So I either keep it simple so I wouldn't freak her out, told her as much as I could, or I told her everything. Ooh, now the decisions start getting creepy. So we got a 4 and an 8. So we'll do... so 8 is above a 6, and the 4 is below, so it's going to be the middle. I told her as much as I could. I wanted to see the forest. I heard it was a must. That wasn't technically a lie. When I was little, my grandfather told me stories about an ancient forest full of wonders and the wolves that lived in it. It was all I got from that part of the family before my mom took me, ran away, and cut off all contact with my dad. But I remembered the stories well, and I remembered the name of the forest. Pazeska Beloweska. This will always be our home, my grandfather used to say. I waited for her to respond. Anya fell silent for a moment. I think it's great that you come from such a magical place, she smiled. The last ancient forest in Europe, thousands of years old. I wasn't sure if I was fond of that magic, but it was hard to ignore, and that was precisely why I needed to do something. Anything about my future. That damn forest and my weird-ass family. I had a clear goal in mind. I wasn't there by mistake. I'd planned this trip for months, with a clear goal in mind. I had to face the forest, I had to learn the truth about my roots, or I had to figure out my destiny. So we got a 5 and another 5. Holy crap. Alright, so this is where we get to the point where... Ooh. I don't know. Let's see, should we pick 1, 2, or 3? Which one should we pick? 1, 2, or 3? I learned the truth about my roots. Let's find out. I want to know more about this girl. I really do. My grandfather's stories, the secrets, my mother running away. There was a mystery in my past. It was time I uncovered the truth about who I was, but now I wasn't so sure if it had been a good idea. Welcome home. Your willpower dropped to 0. When you lose all your health or willpower, you become impaired. This will make physical tasks, if you have 0, or social and mental tasks, if you have 0, harder and sometimes impossible. Beloweża looked like an overexposed photo of a village, with the contrast turned all the way up. The sun wasn't just shining, it was shouting out at the earth and everything. The trees, the grass, the wooden houses, the fences seemed weathered. Everything except the shadows. They were sharp, as though they were freshly printed with the darkest of inks. And they moved. For a second, I could have sworn they moved. But then I realized it was just a black cat walking down the sidewalk. When it saw me, it stopped in its tracks. Do I decide to ignore it? Do I watch it with suspicion? Or do I try to pet it? Oh, 12 months? Holy crap, babe. You've been doing that for 12 months? Awesome. Love it. Alright, so there's a cat in the shadows walking. It stopped, looked at me. So do I ignore it, watch it, or do I try to pet it? I should probably roll for this one again. So 4 and a 6. So let's watch it with suspicion. Hey, do you think there are rabid cats? Because this one is acting weird. I mean, there are rabid squirrels. Why not cats? She shrugged, looking around. Didn't you say your friend would be waiting for us? But he wasn't there. And the cat was still staring at me. Let's go. Anya put on her backpack. I always play my characters how I would play. I'm tired and I really, really need to find a toilet. I didn't know what to do. I was too tired and distracted to think clearly. My friend was nowhere in sight. Right, so we're just learning about this girl. She apparently had a dream about waking up in a forest covered in blood and there was a severed head. And upon finding that, there were some creatures, like these spider creatures with faces and some other creatures, and apparently distinguished it as an enemy. So, and then she woke up and she was on a bus with her friend that she had just not long ago met, and they are in Norway. So now we're going to go find out the true roots of Maya. Um, that's what our goal is. I want to know who this person is. I want to know what this person is. So we're going to go meet them. Let's just wait a little longer, I said. I don't have his number and we really need to meet up with him. His name was Bartek, and met him online while researching Beloisa. The man knew everything there was to know about local history. I asked him to check if anyone in town remembers my grandparents. I hope he's found something. I really need to pee. Anya said it like it was like I was 5 year old and not a very bright one. Um, okay, so I don't know, I don't know if I want to give up my friend's health, or not health, but her need to pee, or meet this guy. Hmm. Hmm. All right, let's go. Let's let her go pee. I mean, I know if it was me, I'd have to like piss like crazy. So let's go pee. All right, okay. Okay, let's go. I grabbed my backpack and stormed off, angry at the Bartak on his tiny bladder and the creepy cat. So now I'm pissed off. Awesome. And I have no willpower, by the way. Bed and breakfast. Eloisa had a few hotels and hostels, but the preferred form of accommodation was bed and breakfast. That's where we stayed. La, 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 la. I found that was nice, clean, and that had a good reviews. We had a room on the second floor with a huge window and a great view of the forest. We dropped off our stuff, freshened up a bit. Maybe we should have waited for your friend, Anya asked, concerned. I shrugged. I'll find him sooner or later. So, now it's telling me, before you go, check out your character sheet. Look for it in the upper right corner of the screen. You can find a load of useful info about Maya, her background, personality, goals, and so on. There, you can also check who your friends and who your enemies are. Okay, so let's look at our character sheet here. So our character is Maya Borodich, 24. She's a student. She's an American. She's not very brave. A little inspiration. Very analytical, spiritual, not very cunning. She's impaired because she has very little willpower. Um, I mean, it's understandable. Then again, she had a dream about being in the forest with somebody dead and decapitated. Um, so the goal is to learn the family history and pursue to regain willpower. Anya is a relation to us, sympathetic family. It's complicated. So there's not a whole lot about Maya. So hopefully we learn more. Uh, Bio Louisa was a quaint tourist town, but I had other things in mind. The lay of the land. I had a clear goal in mind. My family was entangled with this town and the forest. I had to uncover my roots. Anya went with us. Oh no! I wonder if I take the forest if Anya's the one that got, like, in her dream got killed. That would be horrible. Okay. So, let's find out who the town people are, because I don't feel like dying just yet in the forest. Serendipity. As we walked through town, Anya nudged me and pointed at a tall, broad-shouldered, freckled guy standing at the bus stop with a lost expression on his face. I remembered his face from the pictures on social media. It was a friend who'd stood me up earlier. I'm gonna greet him because I really don't want to rip his head off yet. We're gonna greet him. Bartek? I asked, getting his attention. Maya, what are you doing here? He blurted with surprise when he saw me. I was sure you were coming on the later bus. We started walking and talking. His accent was broad and East European. And no, I'm not going to do the European accent because I'm not good at accents. I flooded him with questions. Anya liked him. I caught him looking at me. Let's see. I think I'm going to flood him with questions. Let's see how that works out. Luckily, he loved talking about his home. So when I flooded him with questions, he kindly obliged. Ooh, good deal. We talked about how the village had become a tourist destination, how the logging business moved to a nearby town, how the trains had stopped coming and the local station had been turned into a hotel for wealthy foreign hunters. The dozens and dozens of bison statues scattered around the village watched us indifferently. We walked along the only street in the village, nearing the center, if you could call it that. Every house had a garden, and the air was dense with a fragrance of flowers. Took a deep breath. So, did you manage to trace the name I gave you? I asked. Bartek shook his head. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Sorry. He was avoiding my eyes. A trickle of sweat ran down his temple. He was lying. Straight to my face. What the fuck, man? I threw my arms in the air. You wrote to me a few days ago that you had something. But he just clammed up. You know what? I think you should drop it. I stopped. I don't know. Would I be hurt? I mean, I barely know this person, but I asked him to get this information. I don't know if I'd be angry and sad. Let's go with hurt. I stopped. I turned to Bartek and looked right into his eyes. That's a bit unfair, don't you think? I sighed. It was a long, uncomfortable ride, and I only came here because you said you had something. That's cold. Anya twisted the knife. Okay, so the game is going to track my decisions on how Maya approaches Prout. They will accumulate and gradually reveal what kind of person she is deep in her heart. The story changes to reflect Maya's personality. Well, he brushed his forehead with the back of his hand. I did ask. I started with the old people here. I told them that my friend from the States was looking for her roots and wanted to know about the place her family came from. You know the drill. At first, people were very, receptive. I waited for the other shoe to drop. And then I mentioned your name. He shook his head. Bartek, no dramatic pauses, please. I urged him. The tension is killing me. One of the old men here told me to go to hell. The other spat on the ground, and his wife crossed herself. For a moment, he looked younger and smaller. And then my own grandmother told me to stop asking. She said something else as well. I tensed up. What? I asked. She told me to pray for you. Suddenly, the sweet, golden afternoon wasn't so sweet and golden anymore. Okay, so that's totally makes me interested. Okay. I knew there was something weird and twisted, connecting me and my family to the forest. I could feel a shiver run down my spine. We walked in silence, but my mind was in overdrive. People didn't want to talk, and that could only mean one thing. I was on the right track. Hint, people are scared of my family condition helping. Okay. Every time you learn or do something significant that brings you closer to your goal, you regain. Okay. I was ready to see some sights. Okay. My pulse quickened and I tensed up like a hound that smelled blood. Ooh. I'm super angry though. Time to see the sights. I nodded at Bartek. Show me everything this place has to offer. We walked through the village, bathed in the sharp rays of the summer sun. It was a lazy afternoon, disturbed only by the occasional passing car throwing up clouds of dust that hung in the air long after the vehicle was gone. Anya was walking close to Bartek, asking about every little detail in the village. People were relaxing or working in their yards, dogs were barking, and every cat we passed froze to look at us. I noticed some unfriendly stares from people too. Not many, but enough to notice. Um, hmm. I think they were looking at me. What did you tell people about me? The stares made me snappy. Because they sure look like they know that the girl from the cursed family is here. What? No! Bartek was dismayed. It's just, people don't exactly love strangers here. Let's see. Why? I asked candidly. It's complicated. Bartek scratched his neck, embarrassed by the topic. There's a small there's a small conflict around the forest, and it's attracting some weird people. Activists, reporters, bored rich kids, he said, as though his dad didn't own multiple business. People like that, and they're getting on the locals' nerves. I wonder what she's frowning about. Anya looked skeptical. I looked the conflict up online, she said, and it didn't look so small. It looked pretty important, actually. For a moment, Bartek looked like he was lost for words. Well, you're not one of those crazies, and you're like almost local, he smiled. So, what would you like to see in the village of your ancestors? He spread his arms as if to show me all of the splendor the village had to offer. What do you suggest? The village. Cats were watching my every move as we walked along the empty streets. Ooh. New friends, hidden tensions, lost hopes, strange dreams. There's a railway, a village center, or old cemetery. Family graves. Ooh, let's go to the cemetery. That seems like fun. So, we have quite a few churches here, Bartek explained as we walked down the road. Two Orthodox, one Catholic, and even one Baptist church, he said, as though it were something uncommon. So let's see. I asked about it. Was there a snug? Seemed like a lot of churches. Okay. It did seem like a lot of churches. Usually they only have like one or two. Couldn't they all just use one building? I asked. Oh, I never thought of that, he paused. I guess they could, but, most of these churches have been here for some time. So we still use them, and we don't have a tradition of using the same building for different denominations. So it is what it is. Any Lutheran churches? Asked Anya. I don't think so, Bartek shook his head as he led us to a small wooden church surrounded by a cemetery. Anyway, even though we have all these churches, there's only one cemetery. The church was Orthodox, but the graves were a mishmash of styles and faiths: Catholic, Orthodox, atheist, everyone resting together. Um, I don't know. It seemed like he didn't look like he approved. Bartek looked like he didn't fully approve of such an arrangement. And what kind of person are you? I asked, crossing my arms. Bartek blinked. Me? Catholic, of course. Of course. He looked at the cemetery, and for a moment he seemed lost in his thoughts. All of my family lies here, he said. I mean, the ones that are dead. Hey, what do you think? What do you think happens when you die? I didn't believe in all that religious crap. Only memory remained, and I hoped for something fair. I think I would hope for something fair. Give me just a moment. I'm gonna be right back. I do have to use the restroom real quick, so be right back. let's get back to it. So, our decision was I don't believe in all that religious crap. Only memory remained, and I hope for something fair. So, let's do. I hope for something fair. Because, I mean, who doesn't want something fair when they die? I'd like to think that it's something fair. I like the idea of judgment, I mused. Maybe you look at your life and finally know why you're doing the things you did and what came of it all. It would make sense. Bartek nodded. Yeah, it would. I'd like to believe it does. He looked over the cemetery fence. Well, anyway, this is it. The spiritual heart of Eloisa. We can go see something else if you like. So that's where we stood. I wanted to go in. He didn't want me to. So I think I'm just going to laugh at that because it's like funny. Are you kidding me? I didn't come here to look at something. I came to look for something, I laughed, opening the gate. Bartek shifted uncomfortably. I don't know if that's a good idea. Okay, why? What? Why? I turned to him, surprised. I mean, I told you, people have weird reactions. Maybe it's better to leave it alone? So, what are we waiting for? Anya smiled at him. He mumbled something and led us through the labyrinth of grace to the far end of the cemetery. We walked through the narrow walkways between the graves. Bartek's pace was painfully slow, but I had no choice but to follow him, gritting my teeth and cursing under my breath as he stopped every few steps and looked around. At one point, he threw a condemning look at me. We're in a graveyard, Maya. Have some respect, will you? He barked. Before I had a chance to answer, we saw a woman, tall, broad-shouldered, and long-legged, with gray dreadlocks pinned to the crown of her head. She must have been in her late 40s or early 50s. She was marching through the walkways with fury in her eyes. Bartek quickly stepped between the graves to get out of her way. I don't think I would move. Like, I'm afraid this woman might, like, attack me. It won't let me. Oh my gosh. Guys, it won't let me have that choice. Okay. I just kept going. She kept going, and inevitably we bumped into each other. Hey, watch your fucking step, she growled. Ooh. Should I snap back? Like, these people are already afraid of me, and I have a feeling if I am, like, rude to them, that I won't get the information I need. So maybe I should just apologize. Yeah, I'll apologize. Sorry, I answered, taking a step back. She just snorted and went on her way. Who this bitch? Who was that? I asked, watching the woman leave. Bartek winced. Oh, that's Olga. She's a local activist. She left Louisa when she was 18 or something and returned a few years back with the notion that she was going to change this place. The bell just literally made my heart jump. We continued to the far corner of the cemetery. There, seemingly forgotten and covered in moss, was a lonely grave. It was damaged? The tombstone was broken deliberately. Someone had obviously smashed it with a hammer, and the name was half erased. Alright. The plaque was also damaged. Someone had tried to scratch out the name, but the letters were still visible. There was a circle around the grave. Oh, we're getting into some voodoo shit. I'm sorry, Bartek said. I didn't want you to see that. Who did this? I asked, gritting my teeth. I don't know. Anya squatted and looked at the plaque. I can't read it. The letters are all wrong. She glanced at Bartek. Is it Russian? Belarusian. The same letters. Different language, he explained. There were a lot of them here before the war. I looked at Bartek, hoping for some context. Bartek put his hands in his pockets. So, you don't know anything about your dad's side of the family? He asked me cautiously. Whatever happened at least 70 years ago, and someone still remembers. He did have a point. I don't know them. My mom left my dad when I was just a kid, so I don't remember much, I admitted. And she kept me away from them. She doesn't even know I'm here. I didn't tell her I was visiting Beloisa. By sorry. Maybe he was abusive, said Anya carefully. You have those violent outbursts. Yeah, I guess. Second glance. I looked at the grave for last time. My family's name looked strange, written in unfamiliar Belarusian letters. As we were leaving, I was thinking I was onto something. There's something unnatural about my family, and me coming to Louisa had stirred some old demons. I just had to find out what my ancestors were doing here, who they were. And with that, we left the cemetery. The day was hot and beautiful, yet I couldn't stop thinking about the devastated grave. Alright, let's go to the railway. Choo choo. Train spotting. Bartek wants to show us the most picturesque spot in the area, said I. Maybe that's not the right word, he said, frowning. Well, it's not like it's that beautiful, but it has, an atmosphere, a climate. Did he mean ambience? Ambience, Anya said, at the same moment as I, and we laughed. Ambience, Bartek smiled, visibly relieved. I meant ambience. We ended up on some abandoned track. Ambience. Is it ambience or ambience? Guess it depends on where you're from. We soon left the village behind and ended up on some abandoned railway tracks. The perfect place to meet a serial killer, I grumbled, looking at the overgrown tracks disappearing among the trees. But with the slow, winding river, a stone's throw away, and the long, drooping branches of the old trees shading the unused railway, that place really was picturesque. The bees buzzed around us, the birds sang like there was no tomorrow, and the fragrance of herbs hung thick in the air. My head was spinning. So, was I energized? Did I remember a song, or why was the track abandoned? It's kind of odd on the choices that you can do. Let's see. Why is the railway no longer in use? I asked Bartek. I wish I'd been able to come here by train. The bus was awful. It was a cargo line, he shrugged. Where are we going? I asked, dropping the subject. The line ends at an old train station, but it's a long walk from here. He pointed in the direction of the trees. They turned it into a hotel. You can even spend a night in a luxury train car that belonged to a Tsar. It's a tourist thing. When we entered the dense copse, we noticed a woman standing among the trees. Hello, Bartek, she said. Ooh, some random bitch pop up on us. She was stunning. The woman looked like she was in her late 30s and the most beautiful person I'd ever seen. She had a perfect hourglass figure, long braids, and the most stunning cheekbones. Her eyes slightly slanted, were a weird shade of blue, deep, almost purple. They seemed familiar. And she was looking straight at me. I stood there, transfixed. Hello, Elizabeta Ganalovna, answered Bartek. I could hear something in his voice. Was it fear? Respect? Anger? I couldn't place it. She smiled. I'm Lisa, she said, looking at Anya, and then again at me. And you must be Bartek's pen pal, I assume, the one who's searching for her ancestry. How did she know? How do you know that? I asked, suddenly worried. I know everything, she answered, and smiled even more broadly. Oh, come now, don't look so scared. Bartek's grandma is my friend, and she's, well, talkative. Do you mind if I join you? She asked. I don't know. This Yeah, I mind, because she's kind of creepy. In fact, I do mind, I said burlesquely. I was about to forge for some plans in that direction. She lifted the basket she was holding in her hands. So if you want to walk alone, you'll have to pretend not to see me. This bitch. The path was too narrow for all of us to walk together, so at some point I found myself walking with Lisa. She would squat from time to time and collect some herbs. So you're looking for your roots, she said after a while. Why? Why not? I answered, less politely than I intended. She looked at me and raised an eyebrow. Sit down with me, she nestled among the roots of an old tree, reached in her vest and took out a blunt. Let's have a smoke, and I'll tell you a story. She noticed when I hesitated. You need to hear it. I think I'll sit down. I don't think I need to have weed. Tangled, tangled roots. Lisa let out a cloud of smoke and started talking. From what I learned from the Bartek's grandma, you're asking the wrong questions about the wrong people. Why shouldn't I be asking about my people? I was asking about my family, I pointed out, but not the right branch of the family, she said. Your grandfather wasn't from this village. This is a tainted land, girl, she continued. So much blood was spilled that Pazeska almost lost her mind. Pazeska was one of the words for forest. Polish had lots of those, but she used it in a weird way. Why do you call the forest Pazeska? Isn't las the right word? I call her Pazeska because it's her proper name. She has las is to Pazeska what dog is to wolf, domesticated, enslaved, used. Pazeska is a primeval is a primeval forest, one untouched by humans, primal, strong, and feared. There was admiration in her voice, and I realized that the word sounded like the rustle of leaves, like the wind. Pushka. As I was telling you, is it Pushka or is it Pazuska? Hmm. Almost went mad, and it is not wise to wake those spirits, especially not now. But I needed answers. What spirits? Hmm. I'm not afraid to stir up memories. I want to find out. You mean the spirits of the past? I shrugged. I'm not afraid to stir up some memories. She looked at me with those uncanny eyes. Her gaze was almost unbearable, hard, with anger smoldering somewhere deep within it, ready to jump at my throat. And then suddenly, something changed. Lisa sighed heavily. You have no idea, do you? What do you mean? I asked. So, you have no idea who you are, she stated. Nobody told you what it was like here during the war and after it. Her eyes lost focus, as though she was looking at something only she could see. In 1939, when the war broke out, first came the Germans and then the Russians. You know, they actually worked together. Stalin never forgot that he was beaten by the Poles in 1920. She shot me a glance. I didn't really care, but I nodded politely. Oh, you have no idea what I'm talking about. It doesn't matter really. She took a drag. Anyway, many millions of lives later, Stalin and Hitler stopped sleeping together, so to speak, and the Germans came, and then the Russians again, and there were the forest soldiers. Interesting. They started as Polish soldiers, but then the war ended and they became guerrillas to fight the Russian occupation. And then they ended up as desperate bandits. She sighed. For the people who lived here, they were all the same. Germans, Russians, forest soldiers. They killed, they maimed, they tortured, and burned villages. It didn't matter what language they spoke. Thanks for the history lesson, I said, but where do I fit into all of it? My great-grandparents were from here, she sighed. After the war, there were some changes, and my whole family was sent to Siberia to die. My grandmother was the only one who survived. She met a Buryat, Buryat shaman, and here I am. But your story is tangled with all of this. She looked straight at me. Have you ever wondered what your grandfather did during the war? Dun, dun, dun. I wanted to answer, but suddenly I felt dizzy. The smoke from her joint smelled funny, of forest moss, strange herbs, ash, and blood. Ooh. What had she done to me? I tried to stand up, but a wave of smells and sounds and visions washed over me, and I drifted away, analytical. We are sitting around the fire, deep in the pusha. They knew the rules, and they decided to break them, I say. And the others nod their heads. We have to react, or they'll stop respecting us. Even in these cruel times, we need a law. It's the only thing that keeps us apart from animals. Tomorrow we're going to burn a village. Wolves gather in darkness, waiting for a feast. Hi, Pac-Man! How are you? The game is actually really interesting. I like it. It's got a lot of little twists and turns and things like that. It's very story driven, which I enjoy quite a bit, and it's kind of based off the World of Darkness games. So, I don't know how long you're sticking around for. I don't know if you've played it, but it's about a girl that starts off in a dream of being in a forest. She wakes up and there is a body or a head, and she's covered in blood. And she suddenly wakes up. She's in this bus with a friend, and they are in Norway. Maya is the character. She's a 24-year-old woman, and she's come to Norway to find out what the ties between her and her grandfather, and apparently, I guess, this forest. Her mom had taken her from her dad a long time ago, and they've been hidden ever since. So now we're in the midst of figuring out what's going on. And we just met this lady, Lisa, who's talking about this war that happened in this area. Apparently the townsfolk are not very pleased with Maya being here. So she's trying to figure out why everybody is so scared or angry at her. So we sat down to chit chat, and now Maya's got this weird thing. So back to work. See you later. Bye. When I came to my senses, Lisa was still looking at me. Oh! I'll be lurking, have to run and get kids Xmas PJ for school tomorrow. No worries, come on back. I'm reading a story, so I don't know how long it'll be. And thank you for the subscription. I love your face. Let's see. I got defensive. Are you suggesting that my ancestors did something? I was outraged. Something that I might have to pay for? Bullshit. She shrugged. I've told you everything I know. If you want more, talk to my girlfriend. We'll be at the logging site tomorrow. Yeah, good idea. Alright. Progress. Goal. Mystery. I will, I said. Now I finally knew who and what to ask. There you are, Bartek waved to me. I thought I'd lost you. I said my goodbyes to Lisa and we went back. The village. The bison statues were watching me with their creepy painted eyes as though they knew me. Alright, back to town we go, guys. Woo! A bird of many colors. This is such a nice village, exclaimed Anya. As we walked along the quiet street, nothing moved. The heat was stifling. I was bored. The village was really quaint. I enjoyed the world. It's quaint, I carefully admitted. Is that a nice way of saying it's a shithole? Bartek made a disgusted face and we burst out laughing. Let's get something to drink, I proposed. I'm parched. The local store was a large mini-mart with all kinds of goods, from beer and vegetables to notebooks and pens. There was a bench near the entrance, and on it were a few local drunks. They looked like they wanted to start a fight, but when I stared them down, they just averted their eyes and pretended there was nothing to see other than their cheap alcohol. I'm gonna assess the threat. They're drunk, and no threat, I said, assessing the situation. We can always walk away, and if they try to stop us, all it'll take is a firm push, 1 or 2 kicks, and then we can make a run for it. Why do you even plan things like that? Anya shook her head in disbelief. My stepdad sent me to a self-defense course when I was 12, I shrugged, to help me with my anger management issues. We spent some time inside browsing the Latvian, the Lithuanian, and the Belarusian goods. Why was there almost nothing Polish here? And who in their right mind drinks coriander soda? I was putting the soda back on the shelf when we heard a commotion coming from outside. Uh-oh. Some slurs, some curses, and a clear, mockingly polite, I'm so sorry, darlings. I don't understand. Do you like my skirt? Oh, fuck, Bartek murmured under his breath. I looked outside. There was someone standing next to the drunkard's bench. They were definitely not local. The person was old. Not helpless granny old, but old with deep wrinkles and a narrow mouth. They had the unisex grace of a tired, heroin-preserved rockman. Their shoulder-length, disheveled hair completed the look. They did kind of look out of place, didn't they? They looked like someone had teleported them here from a different place. They had a clean shave and eyes highlighted with eyeliner. Their nails were painted in bright blue. They wore heavy army boots and an outrageously red skirt, a tank top, and lots of leather jewelry. On their bag were pens. Lots of pens. All kinds of LGBTQA plus flags. And anarchist and pacifist symbols. I think some German band strips. I zeroed in on the drunkards. What do you think you're doing? I asked in Polish. This was a sentence I heard a lot as a child. Zoti Vipravish? They looked at me surprised. They didn't expect any intervention, and my appearance changed the dynamics of the scene. It was no longer a pack versus a lone stranger. Now it was a pack versus a pack. And who the hell are you? Asked the one who seemed to be the leader of the group. I'm gonna yell at him. Leave them alone, I yelled. He got up and the rest of the drunks followed him. I wouldn't hit a woman with a flower, but I ain't taking no shit from no tourist girl, so you better get the fuck out of here. I paused. I remembered that odd saying about the flower from my childhood, back when we lived with Dad, and I remembered the but as well, and what came after it. So I punched him. Maya! Shouted Anya, shocked. But I didn't listen to her. This wasn't my first rodeo. I got into fights all the time. I loved getting into fights, actually. It was the only way I could really get my heart pumping, my body working, the adrenaline in my veins, and an enemy under my fists. It was a glorious feeling. The stranger in the red skirt also wasn't new to such situations. I could only admire the way they used their heavy army boots. So, what is this? So did we kick their asses or did we get our asses? I'm gonna kick their ass. Fuck them. We punched, we ducked, we kicked. Some bloodied knuckles were a small price to pay for the victory, but before anything serious could happen, there was a piercing, irritated shout. It stopped us all in our tracks. Hey! Someone said suddenly from behind our backs. The voice was loud and piercing, and there was something about it that made the men stop immediately. Made me pause as well, but the stranger in the red skirt seemed to stop out of politeness, not because of the sheer power of the voice. I turned around. It was Lisa. What the fuck is going on here? Kim, are you insane? And you, she pointed her finger at the men, you should stop drinking that moonshine. It makes you pick fights you can't win. She looked ferocious, and the drunks started explaining themselves. But look at this, Elizuna, said one of them, gesturing towards us. For the last fucking time, the name's Lisa. She was furious. And this is my friend. You're to leave them alone. Got it? The drunkards mumbled and went back to drinking. Thanks, Lisa, Kim said in English. You shouldn't have. Oh, but I wanted to. She spoiled my fun. Oh, come on. You're such a buzzkill, I groaned. We were having fun. There's nothing fun about fighting weaklings, she answered in English. I think I saw relief in her eyes when she looked at me. Hi, Maya. I was worried you'd gotten yourself into trouble there. So, will you join us on the anti-logging protest tomorrow? She asked me after a while. Why did she expect me to protest? Why should I protest? I asked. I mean, this is a forest. Isn't logging what you do in a forest? Why? Gee, I don't know. Maybe because it's the beating heart of all the forests on this continent? She looked at me with a grim expression. The only patch of land untouched by humans for thousands of years? There's illegal logging here? Anya chipped in. Wood is money, and there's plenty of wood in this forest. Suddenly, a feeling rushed over me. I couldn't see the forest from there, but suddenly I felt very aware of its presence. I also felt something else deep in my stomach spreading through my veins. Anger. Like a wave of heat coming from the heart of the dark, ancient forest. A word appeared in my mind. A strange one that was neither Polish nor English. Algira. Lisa looked at me in the eyes and spat on the ground. I'd eat those greedy bastards alive. Felt like I was being watched, and when I looked up, I saw Kim observing me with a curious expression. We haven't been properly introduced, they said in a soft voice. I think they were hiding something. I looked at them and realized they were much more than they first seemed. Under their colorful attire lurked something else. Something primal. Why are you looking at me like that? I asked. I know you have strange dreams, they whispered. I suspect the forest is reaching out to you. They leaned close to me. It runs in your blood. The words were like a punch to the gut. Trust me, I know. I didn't want to hear it. Bullshit, I whispered back through a clenched teeth. You see things as they are, they said, looking me in the eyes. You'll figure it out. I felt a sudden surge of confidence. I wasn't making that up. There was something strange in my family history, and there were people who knew what was going on. Before I could ask more, Anya and Bartok approached, and Kim shook their head, silencing me. Meet us tomorrow at the logging site. They blew me a kiss, put their arm around Lisa, and walked away. Interesting. I kept looking over my shoulder, but no one was following us. We called it a day and went back. The first evening. The B&B was quaint. I left Anya and Bartek outside. They looked like they needed some time alone to say their goodbyes. When I got out of the shower, Anya was back smiling and a little flustered. What a day, she smiled. So what do you think? I made a quick mental inventory of everything that had happened that day. They were cutting down the forest. I remembered the scene of the shop. I mentioned the graveyard. Should I tell her what happened with Lisa? I probably would. I'm gonna tell her. Something weird happened when I was talking with Lisa. I think it was her joint, but I saw some things. It looked like something from the past. Like, from your past? For a second, I searched for words to explain it to her, but I couldn't really. I think it was my grandpa. It's hard to say, but it sure was weird. I shrugged, ending the topic. Let's mention the graveyard. What happened here that people are still vandalizing my family's grave? What did my grandfather do? She put a hand on my shoulder. Whatever it was, it's not your fault. It wasn't, but it could be my responsibility. Remember the shop? The tension seemed almost unnatural. I didn't think people in Poland normally pick fights so easily. Maybe they just didn't Kim's style, Anya tried to joke, but she seemed worried. I can't believe they're logging here, I shook my head. Isn't the forest a UNESCO list or something? Yeah, I know. I want to check out this protest people were talking about. Maybe we could go there tomorrow? I didn't feel like talking anymore. You know what? I'm seriously tired. Let's call it a day, shall we? Soon we were both in our beds, ready to sleep. I was tired, sure, but also excited. And excitement isn't the best for sleep. I lay there for a while thinking about everything that happened, and that might happen next. The wind from the open window lapped over my skin as I watched the silver rectangle painted on the wall by the moonlight. Then I closed my eyes. I could still the weird vision that I had that day. My roots were here. I could feel them, almost touch them, and they were reaching me. Okay, so to reflect, we have uh this girl that I'm pretty sure is a werewolf, but isn't aware of it. Um, for the simple fact that she's not even aware of her own past, and I think that's why her mother kind of kept her away from it, because she didn't want her to turn into this creature, this being, the supernatural thing that apparently her grandfather was, and killed a bunch of people. So, um, it just seems it seems sketchy because everybody's scared, and I wonder if that's because of that, you know. And so maybe that's why everybody's like, oh yeah, you're this crazy demon, not demon thing, crazy werewolf thing, and they know of it, or they respected her family because of it, you know, because she's strong, or this anger comes out and instantly she's a danger to everybody, and not only herself, but everybody in general. And she has these visions, which is like the forest calling to her and stuff like that. So it's an interesting story. It really is. There's a lot of there's a lot of choices that go into this game, which is not bad. And I'm really enjoying it. Honestly, I really am. So maybe it explains a little bit more. I don't know. I might actually grab some of like the. I might actually play some more of these. Maybe they tie in together because I know there's some other ones that they actually have as well that are on these games. And see like, because I like these stories. Because they have, what is this? But so far, she's just like, hmm. I like it though. They had the vampire ones. I don't know if they have any more werewolf ones or anything like that. So we'll have to check and see. I might actually see about getting another one and playing it as well. I'm not big on the whole vampire ones, but who knows? Maybe because I know they have Earth Blood, but I don't know. Is that the game? I think this is that fighting game. Yeah. So, um, maybe we'll try the vampire ones, because those are pretty interesting too, especially if you can get into them and see like. Oh, what is that? Oh no. So we'll have to see, but let's go ahead and let's keep going. Because I should be able to finish the story soon, so we can keep going with this. So. Alright, if I was closer to getting my answers. I felt that the answers I was looking for were within my reach. I just had to go and see the logging protests, meet the right people, and make them talk. After a long while, all these thoughts became blurry. They slowly started to turn into pictures, sounds, and colors. I drifted off. A night in the woods. Uh-oh. The railroad tracks remember times of their glory. The trees around them whisper about forgotten secrets. I feel the excitement rising deep within my stomach and then throughout my whole body. Hmm. Hmm. I am a wolf cub, like the ones my grandfather told me about. I will grow, and my fangs will become sharper. I will taste blood. I feel a pull, and I surrender to it. I run toward a clearing. There are piles of fresh corpses of people who died too young, skinned and mutilated. Their loved ones stand around them, grieving, unable to do anything, waiting. And suddenly, there are just trees and tree trunks. Totally gonna howl. And suddenly, I look at the moon and I howl. Oh! I had to. I'm sorry. The trees are dead, and I'm the only one left to sing their story. There is a stench in the air like meat rotting in acid, but somehow worse. I see the monstrous army. Their mandibles are whirling chainsaws. Their long metal arms are wrapped with black pipes that look like glistening intestines. Their smell is vile. They wait, unmoving. I charge at them. I try to breathe through my mouth as I run toward the machines. I hit and kick them blindly, screaming at the top of my lungs. And in my own screams, I hear strange whispers. They tell me to look at the sky. There, between the stars, two shapes circle each other. An old, sad wolf with gray hair and a white weasel. They keep their eyes on one another as they continue their dance, suspicious, but not hostile. We need to fight the enemy, the awful, rotting stench. I know that much, but how can we do that when we don't trust each other? They stop, they look at me, and the clearing. I want to be with them in the sky. I try to jump, but suddenly my legs feel weak. They descend to the opposite side of the clearing, one by one. Other shadows join them. I stand in the middle of it all. Logging. Okay, so chapter 2, logging. We are on the next chapter. So this is where we should be meeting up with Lisa to protect the forest. So give me just a second. I'll be right back. I'm gonna get my drink of water because my throat is a little bit dry. So give me just a sec. Okay. Alright. Start the chapter. The day after. The next morning was full of sunshine and birdsong. I could smell the heat of the afternoon building. Those long, honey-like hours in late June, when the earth isn't tired of its own warmth yet, but it was crisp and pleasant now. I sat on my bed for a moment, letting my feet dangle from it. I felt hangry. The weight of the previous day had coiled up somewhere in my chest, and it felt like a tiny merry-go-round gaining speed. And there was the dream. Then I remembered the dream, the clearing, the animals in the night sky. How was I supposed to react to it? I took a shower, ate something without really paying attention, and went out. Anya joined me. Summer morning. We were halfway through the forest when I realized we were walking toward the logging site. Against the machines. I was so focused on my anger and the turmoil in my head that I didn't really care where I was going. When I snapped out of it, the sun was shining, the village was far behind me, and I wasn't sure how I'd gotten there. Anya looked around. So what's the plan? We're here to stop the logging, right? Alright, stop the logging. We have to stop this logging. I looked around. On my right was the ancient forest. On my left was a freshly torn clearing ahead of me. Ruining the view were huge logging machines and a group of people arguing in their shadow. It was clear they needed an outside voice to settle the dispute. I looked at the machines. I'd never seen a harvester before, and I was shocked by the vile ugliness of the machine. There were 3 at the site. Their long metal arms were wrapped with black pipes that looked like glistening intestines or weird hanging sperm sacs. And they reeked. The stench was dark, rancid, and putrid. Yet none of the people seemed to smell it. Not the reporters, not the police, not the loggers, nor the protesters. I couldn't understand. The clearing was full of that smell. Ooh. Kim was sitting next to a vaguely military-looking white man who was arguing with Olga from the cemetery. Protesters were clearly conflicted. I want to know what it's about. Curious about the reason for it all, I approached the protesters. One of the police officers, young and nervous, said something I didn't fully understand. I tried to walk past him. He stepped in my way and slowly assessed me. Oh, he said, you're one of them. And then let us go. Wait, what does that mean? And then I noticed that someone used the commotion to sneak with us past police. A girl with disheveled, bleached out hair. Don't worry, she patted the officer on the arm. It was an awful pickup line anyway, he recoiled. You shouldn't touch me, ma'am. I smiled at her and wanted to say something, but I was interrupted. Pat, some guy called her from the gathering. Could you come here? I need you to show Olga that chart. She sighed, reaching into her backpack and taking out a tablet. And they're at it again, she murmured under her breath and winked at me. Coming! As I walked towards Kim, I heard more and more of the argument. Olga, you can't! The man was speaking with a strong German accent. Pat stood next to him with her tablet. She looked a bit amused. Do not fucking tell me what I can or can't do, Cornell. Olga interrupted. I can because they are destroying our mother. I can fight with all the means at my disposal, even if that means burning those harvesters to the ground. A slender green-eyed man was standing near her. He took a few steps back, went towards one of the harvesters, turned his back on all of us, and pissed on the machine. Olga smirked. Oh, Daniel, you know how to bring the point home. He looked at her, confused. Cornell raised his eyebrows. Burn the harvesters? Cornell asked calmly. In this drought? Olga, are you out of your mind? You know what I mean. We fight them any way we can because this is a fucking war, she spat. He sighed. You've never seen a real war and it shows. Nobody is shooting at us, and believe me, we want it to stay that way. We need a peaceful protest. Hey, can we talk? I asked, approaching him. Oh, Maya, darling, it is good to see you, they smiled. Maybe you'll be able to convince her. Oh, so I was to take a stand. I looked at them both, Olga with her fury and passion, Cornell with his cool professional demeanor, and shared, without any reservations, what I felt about the situation. Peaceful wasn't flashy enough. Peaceful protests might work in Germany, I said loudly. Oh, stretch it out and a drink. Yes. What's up, crazy girl? How are you? How are you doing? Thank you, thank you. Luckily, I had went and got me some more, something to drink, so. And this stretch felt good. I am totally getting into this story right now. I'm like deep into it. Let's see. Peaceful protests might work in Germany, I said loudly. But if you haven't noticed, man, you're not in Berlin anymore. This is Poland. Without something flashy, they won't give a fuck about public opinion. Kim shook their head and moved forward. Oh, good darling, you know I love you, but Cornell really knows what he's doing. Please trust me on that one. They looked at her apologetically. Fuck off, Kim. You didn't even trust me enough to come here on your own when I asked you to. Uh-oh. Lisa decided to say something. Lisa looked them straight in the eye. She had a peculiar accent. Kim, you want to teach me about violence? She looked them straight in the eye. About fighting oppression. Just because your boss went to what? One mission in Afghanistan? Her Polish was peculiar, kind of mellow. Cornell winced. Lisa, leave Kim alone. He didn't know what to say, and it seemed that the whole discussion would be derailed. I let them solve it their way. And then Olga punched Cornell firmly in the face, turned around and walked away. He turned around, holding his jaw and wincing. And then he looked at me and just shook his head as if it was my fault. The conversation was over, at least for the time being. Cornell, together with his cronies, walked toward the reporters while Olga went back to the group of people standing in the shadow of an old oak tree. I felt someone looking at me. I felt someone watching me, but when I looked around, I saw nothing suspicious. Then I looked up and sensed the source of the presence. The whole forest was watching me. I couldn't explain how I understood it, but I knew it was the truth. The pushka focused its attention on me, waiting, expecting something. The trees looked ancient and eternal, yet they turned out to be so fragile when confronted with high-tech logging equipment and greed. I came here to stop the logging, and after seeing what I'd seen, my resolve only strengthened. Yes, just like Olga said. Anya nodded, excited. What they are doing is unforgivable, and we have to fight. I looked at one group, I looked at the other. The logging site. The harvesters were dripping with black oil, and the forest stood tall, serene, and full of golden light. It looked like it could protect itself, and then I looked at the felled trees, dead, limp, helpless. Okay. So, should I go to Cornell and get answers, or should I go to Olga and escalation on the harvesters? Because I'm trying to stop the logging, but I'm also trying to get answers. And Cornell's kind of pissed off at me. But Olga's older, and she's been there a while. I don't know. Let's go to Olga. I like the idea. Olga. Okay. As we approached, Daniel pricked his ears. I could have sworn they moved. Hello, fellow humans, he grinned at us. I felt Olga's eyes on me. She didn't seem to remember me at all. And who the fuck do you think you are? She demanded. She stood there with her arm wrapped around the waist of another woman. It was Lisa. She winked at me and mouthed, It's okay. I need answers. Lisa said you could answer my questions. I shot back. Yeah, you're that young American looking for her roots. She didn't look amused. I guess we have to talk. Lisa nudged her. See, honey, I told you. It's obvious. I looked at them again. Olga rolled her eyes. I had more time to look at her now. She was wearing combat trousers, sandals, and there was a small silver double-bladed axe hanging on the string around her neck. The Labrys, a lesbian feminist symbol. She wasn't hiding where she stood. Uh, let's find out what her plan is. Do you really want to burn the harvesters? I asked. Well, the asshole was right. It's not an option in this drought. But yes, I want to destroy them and stop the logging by any means necessary. Are you ready to help us? What's going on here? I asked. Lisa said you could help me. Isn't it obvious? Her laugh was bitter. Your grandfather ran away and left his debt to the Fushka unpaid. He was supposed to guard her. Since you're here, you can make it right. The fuck? Why do I have to save this woman? I looked at her skeptical but seemed to believe it. The question is, she looked at me as she paused, will you do it? Before I could answer, there was a commotion, a change in mood. Olga stiffened and looked over my head. The police are coming! Bo-bo-bo! Police were coming our way. Officers, Olga said, hissing the words through her teeth. Ma'am, said an officer whose round face was adorned by a mustache that looked like a shoe brush. Disperse! Ooh, we about to fight! Let's go! I stood shoulder to shoulder with the other protesters as the officers started to approach. Disperse, repeated the mustache man. I'm gonna stand my ground. When I stood there between the cops and the protesters, I realized that there were more of us than them. The activists started to back down. Suddenly, my head was surprisingly clear. I'm gonna grab a megaphone. I grabbed the megaphone from the hands of the startled teenager and jumped on a tree stump. Hey! I shouted. The amplified sound stopped everyone in tracks. Remember what this is all about. I turned to the protesters. Are you going to stand here and let them push you away? I asked. For a split second, I was surprised how clear my voice was. We stand for the forest. We respect the forest. They don't, I continued. They think they are masters here. They are not. They are just weak, vulnerable humans. They think their badges and weapons will protect them. Apparently I got carried away. They will not. Look at them. Just look at them, sweating like pigs, unable to take their uniforms off even when it's too hot. They blindly follow orders. They are as stupid as their machines. And apparently that's when they maced me. My vision tunneled and I noticed that the cops only advanced after they maced me. Then the cops drew their batons and the protesters started running. And then all hell broke loose. I heard harsh, menacing voices. I heard screams. I heard people running toward one another. The police crashing into the protesters. Some of them fought back, some turned and ran, and some sat down on the ground, only to be dragged away. Someone suddenly grabbed me from behind. I tried to free myself, but couldn't. I looked down at the hands that held me. Don't do anything rash, said Olga, dragging me away. You've done enough for today. I should have just punched him. This time, I kept silent. I didn't know whether it was praise or rebuttal, or I didn't care to ask. Or didn't dare to ask, excuse me. The ugly truth. I have no idea how I ended up on the way back to the village. My eyes were red, I had a runny nose, and my throat hurt from screaming. In the whole commotion, I lost Anya from my sight. I was alone. Or so I thought. Um, in the whole commotion, I lost Anya. Okay. Hey, let me help you, a voice behind me said, and I jumped. A woman was looking at me with concern. What happened? Hmm. You got maced. I got maced, I croaked. She rummaged in her backpack, clearly prepared for such a situation. Here, she said, I have milk. You should wash your eyes. It works better than water. We walked slowly towards the village. I learned that she was an independent German reporter who'd come here about a month ago. Her name was Erica. So, why are you participating in the logging? She asked after a few minutes of small talk. I came here for personal reasons, and I've dropped right into the middle of some eco-guerrilla campaign, I shrugged. And for many reasons, my interests are aligned with the protesters. I looked at her, and why are you asking? She looked at me with renewed interest. Do you know why they are cutting down the trees? She asked back. Because you do know that logging is done by a government company, the state forests. I didn't know that, I admitted. In fact, I knew very little about the situation. I realized just what the others have told me. Erica reached for her notebook. It all started with the spruce bark beetles. Erica looked into her notes and started explaining the whole situation. That year, the beetles' infestation was of catastrophic proportions, and the foresters decided that the only way to stop it and save the rest of the forest was to cut down as many infested trees as fast as possible. Couldn't they just remove the dead trees? Maybe if they removed the dead trees, the infestation wouldn't spread. I tried to find a solution. They might do that, but dead trees are what make the forest unique, Erica smiled. There are 20 times more species living on dead spruce than on an alive one. But was the logging legal? I wanted to know. Opinions differ, but such massive logging in a UNESCO listed area might be illegal, Erica answered. Is cutting down trees the only way to stop the infestation? I asked, confused. The foresters state that this is the only way, she said. Some biologists argue that they are cutting wrong trees and doing it too late to change anything. Couldn't they just leave the pushka alone and let the nature take its course? I asked. That's one of the options, Erica admitted. But there's a drought, and no one is sure if the forest would survive on its own. The situation was more complex than I thought, and Erica's answers did nothing to clear the picture. Stop beating around the bush, please, I asked. I need to know the truth. I'm just doing my job, Erica shrugged. I describe all aspects of the situation to you, but it's up to you to decide what you want to do. I shook my head. Why did the situation always have to be so complex? At least I was sure that they were cutting down the trees and the pushkin needed my help. I don't know what else I could do, I sighed. I might not see the whole picture, but I prefer acting to denial. I tried not I tried not to show how scared I was. She looked skeptical. You're not the only one feeling helpless, she sighed. I'm just helping you make an informed choice. I always feel so angry when there was too much to process at once. And everything that happened at the logging site, the heat, the stench of the harvesters, the tension between Olga and Cornell that you could cut with a knife, it almost sent me into some kind of frenzy. What's the matter? She asked. I'm going to admit my helplessness. I felt so helpless when I saw all that. Took a deep breath, and I remembered what Olga had told me. And they said that I have some family debts to pay. She went, it's a lot to take in, and there was this foul smell back there. She looked at me with a weird expression. What smell? She asked. The smell was not the point. Of all the things I told you, you asked about the smell. I'm trying to understand what's going on here. I think I know what's going on, she answered slowly, but I don't think I should be the one explaining it to you. I looked at her and raised my eyebrow questioningly. Why does everybody know everything but my own self? I thought she'd been hurt by my outburst. You'll learn in your own time if you stay here long enough, she said, clearly wanting to drop the topic. I'm gonna push buttons. What do you mean? I asked, getting irritated. I just told you you'll learn in time or not at all, which frankly would be better. Anyway, gotta run. As I watched her leave, I thought whatever was my family legacy had surely manifested itself that day. I guess I made some progress. I jumped right into the middle of a very tense situation, at the very least upset that the status quo. I just hoped I hadn't made things worse. Anya came back soon after me. I lost sight of you, she said apologetically. I'm glad you made it back in one piece. So how was your day? Anya asked. I shrugged. Just another day in Bielaweze. We sat for a while in silence. You know there's more to see here than the Bielaweze, Anya said from over her travel guide. Pogorjel Chelsea? Buddy, Termiski, Sri Lanka. There's something interesting in every village. An open air museum, some kind of folk university, the bison. Maybe you'd like to see something more than the logging. It would be great if I could see everything, but I can't, I shrugged. I want to focus on the logging, even if I'm missing something else. And how's the search for your roots going? Anya couldn't stay silent for long. Seems that my ancestors lived around the forest for a long time, I said. And there's some kind of debts to be paid. Oh, wow. Anya looked impressed. Honestly, I'm not sure what to think, but if you need something, just let me know. I just sat there looking through the window. The day'd been full on, and I was exhausted. It's quiet now, yet I know deep down inside that something isn't right. I'm walking through the forest to the logging site. It's getting dark. The light seeps away as though there are millions of tiny punch holes in the sky through which it can escape, and then the darkness starts to pour in. I see bodies strewn across the ground, bloodied, maimed, with their limbs torn from destroyed torsos. I can see some of them are still alive, still struggling for air, still trying to live. They are all trees, fallen trees, still alive, still struggling for air. The monsters are coming. They have long skeletal arms, they are wrapped in glistening black intestines, and each arm has a wide gaping mandible full of whirring blades. They snap at me blindly, but I am not alone. I feel righteous anger burning through me like molten lava bubbling from the ground, through my feet, up my legs, through my chest to my head. I point at the monsters. My friends watch, and I bask in their rage. I howl out the death sentence, and we run towards the monstrous shapes. We bite off heads and tear off arms. We are in the executioner's axe, unflinching. I gasped and bolted upright. I was alone, the sun was setting, and in the deep red light, the room looked like it was bathed in blood. My pillow was on the ground, gutted, and the duvet was in shreds. The air was full of tiny feathers dancing in the draft from the window. What the fuck was going on? Crazy. Whew. Okay, so we're actually going to stop right here. We will be back tomorrow to finish up this game because I believe there's probably about 5 chapters, maybe. But I don't want to end this game too fast, and I want to enjoy this game a little bit longer. It is getting very interesting. She is getting more in depth in her dreams. Her dreams are becoming more of a realism. She's tearing up her bed, her pillow. She's getting angry because of this tree thing, like it's just over and over and over, and it's just like, whoa. So I wasn't aware that this story was going to be this crazy good. I enjoy it a lot. I really do. And I am picking the situations as if it was me playing as this character, if I was this person. And it's just like, it's one thing after another. You have this girl that is headstrong, and she's wanting to fight, but at the same time, she's trying to be reclusive and not be involved too much. And so now she's taken on this family debt from like 70 years ago, or longer or shorter, however long. But, and it's just like, you had no responsibility for this, so now you're taking responsibility? Like, it's weird. And so, like, I don't know. I'm enjoying the story a lot. There's a lot of people into this. I want, like, I want to get to the point where, you know, she finds out who and what she really is. You know, she's having these dreams, and I don't know if these are, she's having these dreams about her grandfather, or if these are dreams of her, or for, you know, like future dreams or future premonitions of, you know, what she's going to be doing or things like that. So hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it. Tomorrow we'll be back about the same time as well, and we'll play this for a couple hours. If we finish, we finish. If not, it's fine. I would like to see if they have any other games that are kind of like this. I'm kind of enjoying this one. So maybe if we finish this one early tomorrow, maybe we can start another one tomorrow. But we'll see. Thank you, Eveline, for the subscription. Thank you also, babe, for the subscription, resubscribing for 12 months. Eveline for 2 months. Thank you, Crazy Girl, for the hydrate and the stretch it out as well. Thank you, Pac-Man, for stopping by and saying hello. Please give him a shout out. He is streaming. Last it was Overwatch. He does play other things as well. He does music, so make sure you ask him about that as well. Normally I do not play these type of games, but I am actually loving this. We do have a special thing going on this Friday. If you would like to be part of it and like to know what is going on, please do join me on Twitter or Discord to find out updates and things of that nature. And yeah, I mean, I'm liking it. So hopefully we can have some more. Hopefully we can get some more people in, and you know, we get to hang out and talk to you more as well. So I appreciate you stopping by. I love all of your faces, and I do hope that you will be back with me once again tomorrow as well. So until then, thank you. Love all your faces, and y'all have a great evening.